Welcome to the Technology and Energy Panel talk here at the ISH Digital 2021. Today we've invited experts from the industry to discuss the topic of flue gas technology. In other words, the chimney in its various designs, for example made of ceramic or stainless steel. We'll also be discussing the different applications and take a look in particular at the single-room furnace connected to the chimney. I'd like to welcome our guests today. First of all, Dr. Lothar Breidenbach, Managing Director Technology at the BDH and Head of the Department Flue Gas Systems. I'd also like to welcome Robert Hild, Consultant for the HKI. That's the Home, Heating and Kitchen Technology Industry Association. First, a question for you, Dr. Breidenbach. You're the head of the Department Flue Gas Systems at the BDH. In the past year, 12 more companies have joined. What is the background to this development, and what goals has the department set for itself?
Was ist denn der Hintergrund für diese Entwicklung und welche Ziele hat sich die Fachabteilung gesetzt?
Until last year, the department represented only stainless steel chimney manufacturers and to some degree plastic chimney manufacturers. We now have 12 new members covering the ceramic range. It's important that chimney manufacturers all speak with one voice. We all have the same goal of getting chimneys into buildings, and there are many areas where it makes sense to combine efforts in terms of the technical work, building codes and standardization work. You mentioned the different materials, stainless steel, ceramic and plastic. Can you say something about the advantages of the different materials? Stainless steel and ceramics are true all-rounders. They can be used for all kinds of fireplaces with gas, oil and wood. They are moisture-insensitive versions in both positive and negative pressure designs, as well as an air flue gas system, which we'll discuss later. Ceramic is typically used more in new construction. Stainless steel is often used for retrofitting in an existing building. And in the case of plastic, these systems are used at low temperatures of up to 120 degrees in conjunction with gas or oil condensing boilers.
Dass diese Systeme bei niedrigen Temperaturen bis 120 Grad dann eingesetzt werden und hier auch in Verbindung mit einer Gas- und Ölbrennwertheizung.
Mr. Hild, a question for you. What point of contact does the HKI have with gas flue technology? The HKI represents manufacturers of domestic heating and cooking appliances as well as suppliers and related technological fields. Flue gas technology is of course an integral part of this. To operate a fireplace safely and efficiently, it's important that the appliance, the fireplace and the flue gas system fit together. Many years ago, we founded our own specialist group at the HKI to deal with technical, regulatory and market-related issues in this area. Dr. Breidenbach, looking at new buildings, these often use heat pumps. In this context, does the chimney have a future at all?
Hat denn in dem Zusammenhang der Schornstein überhaupt noch eine Zukunft?
Yes, definitely. There are also single-room furnaces, which we'll talk about later, for which there's still demand and which are operated in houses in addition to a heat pump. On the other hand, there are comfort reasons for this. But also in cold weather, like we've had this winter, when the temperature is very low, it's helpful to have the wood heating to provide additional heating support. Mr. Hild, let's focus on new construction. What needs to be considered here with regard to the flue gas system? Yes, the key issues in new construction are combustion air and the tight sealing of a fireplace. New modern buildings are relatively well sealed and often have an integrated ventilation system, and the fireplace has to take this into account. It has to be able to deal with ventilation systems and be designed with this in mind. This means that from a safety point of view, it's important to use appliances that are independent of the air in the room. Generally speaking, what are the different single-room furnace designs in new construction? In general, we need to bear in mind that relatively little heating output is required in new buildings. We can often get by with devices with an output of less than 3 kilowatts. We have various technical options here. One is the Pallet Fireplace, which can work with continuous supply of small quantities of pellets and produces a suitable amount of heat. We have storage fireplaces that use large quantities of split logs to heat up a heat storage, which then continuously releases heat into the room over a long period of time. And of course, we also have units with a collection basin that can be integrated directly into the heating circuit.
Und wir haben natürlich auch Geräte, die sich über eine Wassertasche, also Geräte mit Wassertasche, die sich unmittelbar in die Heiztechnik, in den Heizkreislauf integrieren lassen.
Dr. Breidenbach, if we look at existing buildings, can a fireplace be retrofitted easily in these, and what needs to be considered in terms of flue gas technology? Yes, that's possible in almost all cases. If a chimney is available, then you can often use that. A chimney sweep has to assess it. If this isn't possible, there are simple ways of renovating the chimney by inserting a flue system into the existing shaft. Another variant is the installation of a chimney on the facade, which must then also comply with the corresponding discharge conditions and heights from the first Federal Emission Control Act. It's also important to contact the responsible district chimney sweeper. Otherwise, you may find that it won't work in the end, after you've set up the stove.
Wichtig ist es immer, dass man mit dem zuständigen Bezirksschornsteinfeger dann auch Kontakt aufnimmt und nicht, dass man später dann auch feststellen muss, wenn man den Ofen schon aufgestellt hat, dass es dann...
In the last year, the German government has significantly increased subsidies for efficient modern heating systems. To what extent is flue gas technology also affected by this subsidy? The subsidy is primarily aimed at renewable technologies, as well as wood boilers, pellet stoves with collection basins, gas hybrid heating systems and heat pumps. However, if a system is installed, whether it's a wood boiler, a pellet stove or a gas hybrid system, the additional measures required, such as the construction or renovation of a chimney, can be subsidized at the same high rate as the technology itself. So in many cases, chimneys also benefit from the subsidy.
gefördert werden, wie auch dann bei der Technologie selber, die gefördert wird, angewendet wird. Und somit profitiert der Schornstein auch in vielen Fällen von der Förderung.
Mr. Hild, I'd like to discuss another energy policy issue, the issue of particulates. This topic is frequently in the media in combination with the thermal utilization of wood. What requirements have legislators put in place, and can these requirements be met technically?
Welche Anforderungen stellt denn der Gesetzgeber und können diese Anforderungen technisch erfüllt werden?
First of all, I want to emphasize that the German government's climate policy is very ambitious, and rightly so. If we look at the heat demand in residential buildings, we see that these ambitious goals can hardly be achieved without climate-neutral heating with solid biomass, that is, with wood. In that respect, we see our technology as playing an important role in the future within the framework of climate policy.
Einen wesentlichen Standpunkt für unsere Technologie in der Zukunft im Rahmen der Klimapolitik. Der wesentliche politische oder regulatorische Rahmen für den Betrieb von Feuerstätten ist die sogenannte...
The main policy or regulatory framework for the operation of fireplaces is the first Federal Emission Control Act. This was amended in 2010 and a second tier was added in 2015. This is a very successful and important regulatory framework. It has led to a great deal of development in system technology in recent years. It has also led us to being able to run a replacement program over the last few years, which is still running today. This has enabled us to significantly reduce actual particulate pollution. Technologically, however, there's still room for development there over the next few years. I'm thinking of combustion air devices that reduce the operator's influence on efficient heating with a fireplace and thus also reduce emissions. We see, for example, catalytic converter technology, which can deliver significant results, particularly in the very critical area of particulates, and we also see separation technology, a technology that's still in its infancy. There are solutions on the market, but at prices that are not yet quite affordable. We would also like to see a funding framework from politicians that would enable this separation technology to be ramped up on the market. The 2030-2050 climate targets have already come up. What role does wood play in achieving these goals, Dr. Breidenbach? Yes, Mr. Hild just mentioned it. The targets aimed at climate neutrality in 2050 cannot be achieved without wood. The same applies to the interim targets for 2030. And here it's important to push the thermal utilization of wood once more. It has to be sustainable, of course, but that's not a problem because there's plenty of wood. And what should be also mentioned is that we have other targets relating to the share of renewable energies in the heating sector, which come from the EU. It is also important there precisely because wood boilers and wood stoves are often used in existing buildings, which have relatively high heat demand. In this case too, wood makes a significant contribution to achieving these goals. That brings us to the end of today's program. As we've seen, the chimney can be used in a variety of ways, both in renovations and in new construction, and it provides comfort and coziness, especially in combination with a single-room furnace. Thank you for your interest, and allow me to refer you to the websites of the BDH and the HKI. Here you can find more information on today's topic. I want to thank you and hope you enjoy the rest of ISH Digital 2021.